Welcome back to the Dive Plan. I'm your guide, Jim, and good morning. We're here at beautiful Sunnyside Beach Park in Steilacoom, and there's the ferry right there. I'm going to do something I haven't talked about on my channel yet. I instruct. I'm a PADI staff instructor, which means I can help teach people how to be instructors. But basically, my big thing is I teach people how to scuba dive. And over the last few weeks, I've taught a number of people, including today. I'm actually finishing someone's certification. So we're going to show you a couple of videos of what my students see and what my students look like when they're underwater doing their certification dives. That's the plan. We're going to go underwater and make it happen. And yes, I am well aware that the lighting makes this video look brighter than the sun. That's what happens when you have a professional instructor who's an amateur videographer. This is a married couple, Emily and Derek, who were fantastic students. So two of the most important things I teach as an instructor are buoyancy and trim. You'll notice as we go through these videos that my students are horizontally trim for the most part and neutrally buoyant for the most part, which means they are parallel to the bottom of the ocean, that's horizontally trim, and they're not bouncing off the bottom. They're staying a few feet off the bottom, but not shooting up to the surface, which is neutrally buoyant. One of the best things about being an instructor is showing someone who's new to the underwater a critter or a feature and seeing their face light up, because it might be the millionth time I've seen it, but it's the first time they have. With that in mind, let's look at some of the critters and features that my students find fascinating. This is a red rock crab. And here we have a buffalo sculpin. You know that saying, everything but the kitchen sink? Well, at Sunnyside, they even threw in the kitchen sink. This is the Santa and Frosty boat. Some enterprising person took two of those plastic Santas and Frosties that you can put out in your yard at Christmas time, weighed them down, and put them out here. Ah! Sidetracked by an elf. Anyhow, back to the fishes. So that's a copper rockfish swimming on the right side of Frosty there. For some reason, buffalo sculpin and occasionally cabezons love to hang out on these two figures. If you look right here, that's a big old buffalo sculpin. Something a lot of my students enjoy is getting a picture with Santa and Frosty on the final open water checkout dive. This is Emily doing her best mermaid impression. This is the pipeline, a stormwater runoff pipe that goes almost a quarter of a mile out into the sound. It's home to hundreds of anemones, fish, crabs, and even giant Pacific octopus. And speaking of octopus, here's one of the 3 GPOs we found during this dive. Underwater fact: plumose anemones are actually animals, not plants, and they're carnivores. One of their favorite meals? Jellyfish. These two kept competing to see who would find the next cool critter. I was okay with it because their trim and buoyancy was great. Speaking of cool critters, this is an ochre sea star, one of over a dozen distinct sea star species you can find in the Puget Sound. See that piece of orange kelp? Not kelp. See it moving? That's actually a decorator crab. Decorator crabs put pieces of kelp and other living things on their shells to act as camouflage. They're really smart little guys, and kind of pretty too. What we've got here is a crescent gunnel hiding underneath a California sea cucumber. Look, it's the Guardians! No, not those Guardians. These are 4 statues I call the Guardians of the Block. 2 owls with heads, 1 owl without a head, and a dragon turtle. It was snake prickleback spawning season during this video, which you can tell by the fact that there's about 1 billion of them. So now we'll move on to some videos of my next student. 3 weeks later. This is Alex, whose grandfather got him into diving, and whose grandfather followed us around with his scooter on our final checkout dive. As you can see, the viz during this dive was way better than with my previous 2 students. You can see the Guardians of the Block very well, partially because of the viz, partially because I spent about 5 minutes cleaning up the top of the block. So in case you're wondering, their names are Vermeer and Picasso. That's the headless guy. Then over here, we've got Monet. Hi, Cloud. And then finally, the dragon turtle, whose name is Da Vinci. Very fierce. And here are Alex and his grandfather getting the customary picture with Santa. Here's a GPO we found that day, just hanging out under the pipe. There are so many plumose anemones on this pipeline. Another cool thing about them is that they change color dependent upon their diet. Many of them are white, but as you can see, there are orange, yellow, almost red ones. And there's Alex, and as you'll watch, he's doing his level best to try to stay horizontally trim. The variety of life just on this pipeline is really amazing. From awesome sea stars to sea cucumbers, that's a California sea cucumber, to rockfish, like this quillback rockfish right here. And even having dived at this spot hundreds of times, I still get to see new things. For instance, I've never seen a buffalo sculpin with this color scheme before. And here, just below all those flitting little shrimp, is a sea squirt. I don't know why I find these guys so cute, but I do. And of course, a whole lot more plumose anemones. These are tube snouts. They're tiny fish that are really fast and swim in schools. They have a cousin named the bay pipefish, which is usually longer and is a solitary swimmer. And right here is an old crusty Dungeness crab who looks like he just got back from a war. That's the muscular arm of a clam. And here's another buffalo sculpin. Here's a giant Pacific octopus. You can see tentacles or arms on the right, arms on the left, and in the middle, yep, that's its mantle or head. This one's pretty good sized, a little bit bigger than a basketball. Give me some soul. Okay, as much as I like Marvin Gaye, not that kind of soul. This particular sole is a CO sole, a kind of halibut found here in the Pacific Northwest. So as we watch my student practicing his buoyancy and doing a great job with it, I want to thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and until next time, fins up, dive safe.